Alrighty. So the art and science of storytelling. I'll take us through the objectives, and then Sarah, if you want to take over from there, that would be wonderful. Oops. Okay, so we're here to gain a deeper understanding and the importance of storytelling and styling in visual merchandising to, of course, maximize business results, because that's what we're all here for. We will build a merchant mindset to enable quality decision-making, of course, as it relates to storytelling and styling. So understanding how the two tie together, I think, is the most important thing to get out of today. And then we will leverage storytelling and styling to, of course, support sustainment throughout the floor set life cycle through inventory optimization. So making sure we can make really smart sell-through adjustments and decisions that can positively impact our business.
All right, awesome. So I know that this go-round of training, we did not actually facilitate the Aerie Storytelling Learning Lab, but hopefully you guys were able to go through that in AEO Academy, the module that's there. So some of this information may be very similar to what you saw in that why can't I think of the word, module, that's in AEO Academy for Aerie. But then hopefully you'll also be able to see some differences between the two brands. And I'll try to highlight them as we go through. So there may be some things I reference where if you haven't gone through the module, that may be a little, unfamiliar to you, but you'll know what I'm talking about. So just a little plug to definitely go through that module as well in AEO Academy. Okay, so what is storytelling, first of all? So we're going to think about this and look at a series of images here and really kind of try to understand, like, what is the story being told here? How do these images make you feel? Like, what really is storytelling at its heart? What are you guys getting from these photos? And, like, what are you thinking about the story that's being told?
I just see that they're enjoying the outside and being active.
Yeah, we see a lot of activity. There's like common themes, right? Like we know kind of how this day went from all of these images. So did this in any of you guys make you think of like a time where you were with your friends, or maybe like take you back to a fun activity you did? I think that's a big part of storytelling too. So storytelling is telling a story, but it's also going to try to connect to parts of your life, maybe memories that you have. And in doing so, it also stirs emotions. So storytelling is looking to evoke emotions and create a connection with the viewer or the reader if it's an actual story. And in visual merchandising, we look at storytelling as, how are we inserting our product into this overall story and connecting a connection with the product itself. So here we see all of this great offline product being connected to this really amazing day that this group of friends is having. It's making me think of times with my friends. I'm feeling like nostalgic. I feel like this might be a fun day to have, and look like all of this offline product is going to help me get there, right? And it's kind of like creating this aspirational idea of our product. So we flip into the next screen. We kind of look at from a retail and visual merchandising product standpoint, what really is the goal of storytelling. So it's really to take the product from being a little bit flat and just like, oh, it's a skirt and it's a shirt and it's a bottom, into, how can this product really enhance your life? So like, where can you go in it? How do you feel in it? What are you doing in it? So if we click through to our next photos, we really see the product come to life. So what are some common things, once we get all these up, what are some common things you see in all these photos that we definitely didn't see in the photos before of just the items? Would love like coming off mute or in the chat, whatever you're comfortable with. Ooh, yes. Movement. Someone's saying outfitted. That's so important, right? Because in the first photo, it was just the one piece of product. And here we see it put together with other, great offline pieces. And then also, I think in offline, I look a lot at the shoes, which sounds so funny, but the shoes really tell us like where she's going, what she's doing in this item. And it's important to note that it's not all about the gym. So it is about movement, but it's about movement in your everyday life, all kinds of movement. Our girl on the left here is wearing Docs. And then, the ones on the other side, they are more of like a tennis shoe, but it's more of a casual shoe, not necessarily going to run at the gym. So yes, outfitting, looking at all the pieces, how to put it together, styling. And then we're seeing the clothes in action, someone said. So again, that idea of movement, really seeing what you can do in this. And then look at all their faces. Like, what's something else you see here?
They all look very happy or confident to be in the clothes.
Yes, they look really happy to be there. They look happy to be doing what they're doing. And it looks like, they feel good in these clothes. And that's definitely a goal of storytelling as well, is, how are these going to make you feel? Hopefully very confident and happy. Awesome. Okay. So now that we know what storytelling is and kind of the goal of storytelling, how do we make this come to life in our stores? So obviously we've been seeing lots of images of our marketing images that usually sit in the uppers in our store. So those are definitely huge components of communicating the story, right? So that's why they're so big and offline. They take up almost the whole upper, but we really have that moment of seasonality. So it is very important that we are changing these out from season to season to go with the news story of the season. So Bree, as you click through these, it'll highlight different ones. So you may have to do a lot of clicking on this page. So there's our first one of the marketing. And then we also have these great store design elements that really help to highlight that idea of activity and movement, also just like fun and whimsy. So we had the ping pong table there. We've got the whole storefront that just feels, the arch gives a really just like fun shape as you're walking in. This awesome screen that shows the video on loop that really showcases all the product on real bodies and people moving in it. And then as we click through, we've got some product displays that really show the product details in different ways. We've got our fun furry friends and their props. So lots of seasonal propping that helps us to tell the story. And then style bars are a great example of how we change things out seasonally to highlight different products and kind of continue the story into the fitting room. And then, of course, product styling. So this is huge in offline because we don't have bus forms, if you haven't noticed yet. Hopefully most people don't notice because we do a really good job of styling the clothing itself and utilizing our little dog forms and other product displays to take the place of bus forms. But that means the product styling is even that much more important. So these are all just ways that you'll see storytelling show up in your store. And now I think we are going to have a little pop quiz. So how does storytelling fit into the visual merchandising filters? So if you're with me on Tuesday, we learned all about the filters. So of those four visual merchandising filters, which one do you think storytelling really ties to the most? Oh my gosh, come on. We learned so much on Tuesday. I know
The
it was a while
guest.
ago now. The guest? That's an interesting thought. Why do you think the guest?
Because how it like really relates to their emotions and it's like, how is it relating to their personal life, but also the brand too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I really wanted to know because I think that is interesting. I think the reason why it would be brand over guest is because we're not going to change the story of the season really based on our guests. Like I wouldn't change that from store to store. We want to keep the story really true to the brand direction. So, but that's an interesting thought because it is all for the guests, right? But yeah, I would say that storytelling really fits into brand direction the most closely because the brand is telling us what the story is for the season. So when you think about when you get the floor set document, that's really, and even the kickoff too, it gives you a great intro into what is our goal of the season, what story are we telling, you know, what great product fits into that story, and then it's our job in stores to make it come to life. So awesome, cool little discussion. Okay, so now we're going to look at the core elements of storytelling in visual merchandising for offline. So I think a minute ago we looked at a lot of different elements that help to support storytelling. These are really the core elements of how we bring stories to life in offline stores. So first of all, we have collections. Those are going to be all of our different fabrication or legging collections. So we'll dig into each of these in a minute. We also have color story. We've got balance and symmetry, and then styling, of course, is huge. So the first core element we're going to go into is going to be collections. So if you did do the Aerie Storytelling Lab or module, you'll know that this part for Aerie is shop concepts. So, you know, how in Aerie we have little shop capsules throughout the store highlighting categories or particular kind of like themes. And offline, it's really all about the collections or like the big six, like I like to think of these as. So these are our main 6 fabrications. They are really grounded in leggings, but definitely offer a full collection. So we've got our OG, our Real Me, the Real Me Extra, the Hugger, Goals, and Warm Up. So when we are merchandising these throughout the store, you'll see, especially in floor set documents, these are always kept separate. So if a wall is about OG, it's probably just going to be about OG. We're not going to see any of these other collections mixed in with it because we really want to educate our guests, since we still are a pretty new brand, on all the different fabrications, and it can be confusing to put them together because we do kind of think of these as being 4 different activities. I think on the little details here, you're seeing some similar things between them, but they are very different in like the levels of support, kind of what they're made to withstand as far as like, should I be running in these every day, or are these more of like a walking my dog kind of legging? So we don't really want to merchandise these together if we can help it in the store. So usually a wall or a table is going to be about one of these collections. And we do use a lot of informational marketing to let our guests know like which collection this table is all about and what really that means. So we have a little bit more of that kind of marketing than Aerie does. Okay, so outside of the big 6 collections, we also have layering collections. So we have our 2 big ones probably are the Throwback Fleece, which you see here on the left, and then the OTT Fleece, which if you were wondering, OTT stands for over the top. People ask that all the time. I think we just say OTT like everyone knows. So these are 2 layering collections that we would definitely, you know, sell on their own, like we see on the inside pictures here. But they are great, you know, outfitting components to all of our legging collections. So we see them layered over the leggings or over a sports bra here. So, you know, within a presentation, even if it's all about, you know, the Hugger, we totally could also have an add-in of a fleece layering collection with that main 6 collection. So these are those kind of like supporting collections that can help create the outfit. And then on the next page, we're going to see some more seasonal fabrication. So these may actually show up as leggings. So here we see seamless. We see that guy a lot in leggings and a top. And then some more seasonal styles, like here we're seeing a velour. There was like a, I don't even know what to call this one, the gingham that we had a while back. So since these are more seasonal, they can sometimes be mixed with the big 6 collections. I think about the seamless tops especially. They're very much a flex item because they're not part of like a true collection that we have all the time that we want to really educate our guests around. So hopefully that kind of breaks down which ones we mix and which ones we don't. And then here's how these collections are going to show up on your floor set overview. So similar to Aerie, they will, and their shops, these will show up as little boxes around the tables and walls, letting you know, which collection's going where. And something just to notice here is that we're not like, I think if this was an Aerie laydown and we were looking more at shops, we're really going to see our blue tables by our blue walls, right? Because we're keeping that whole collection all together, that whole shop. But for offline, it's not so much so tied to wall to table adjacency. Sometimes it is because it's that collection and it's the same color story and it's a whole story from the wall to the table. But other times it's more about the actual rooms being cohesive. So if you look at this lay down, we kind of think of the two walls up front and the tables in between as being like room one. Then you enter into the next two walls that are across from each other. That's going to be like room two. And then the back two walls that are facing each other are room three. And then you have your back pavilion. So it's really about having like a more cohesive message across as far as color and like full offering in that room, if that makes sense. So what I want you to take away from what I'm saying right now is that you don't necessarily have to get your Real Me table in front of your Real Me wall. And often that's not how it's mapped on the floor set overview. So just a little different from Aerie in that way. Okay, so let's see how this would look in person. So I did just want to pull this and kind of illustrate what I was just talking about. So first of all, we pulled the walls from like a couple floor sets ago of the Real Me Extra and then Real Me. And did just want to take a moment to differentiate those two. So even though they're both Real Me, these are different collections in the Big Six. So I would not mix these. And I would say take care to not mix these, especially because they are so similar that it can be really confusing and the guests can get something that they weren't expecting if they are confused about the collection. So that first one we see is Real Me Extra, and then the other three we see are the Real Me. So I think you'll see that the two walls there are definitely, or sorry, the walls on the right side of the page are really having a kind of similar color story. They could maybe live together in a shop, but then the bottom table feels very different and a little bit separated from those two walls, right? So that's what I mean when it's like, maybe this table wouldn't necessarily live in front of this wall because the color story is a little different. It just feels different. So that's why maybe the adjacency isn't quite so strict. All right, so let's see what's next. Oh, and then just giving a nod to the Black Legging Shop, which is something that currently is housed in the pavilion. I don't see this changing anytime soon. This has been a destination for our black legging styles, similar to the table in Aerie. Here, we do want to take special care to really separate the styles because it's all the same color, right? So it can get even more mixed. And here you're really seeing those large format marketing pieces with all the very informational marketing here. So those are really important in keeping the collection separated because it can feel just like a lot of black leggings, right? But here would be an area where you would take extra care to keep them separated so as not to cause confusion. All right. Okay, so now we're going to get into color story. So this is going to be our next core element of storytelling. So we definitely learned a lot about collections. Now we're going to consider color story. So we're going to do like kind of a fun little activity here. So I definitely need some participation in the chat and out loud. So we're just going to think about how different color stories make you feel differently. And it's not necessarily all about just the gradient of warm to cool, but it's like what kind of color story is it and how does it make you feel? So when you look at this particular color story or color palette, what does this make you think of? Like maybe a location or a time of year or like feelings it gives you? Like what are you seeing here?
I see cools to warm.
So there is still a gradient for sure.
The dark blues. Wait. Oh, sorry. The dark blues make me think of the ocean.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ashley, Nag's Head, that's in the Outer Banks, right? Yeah, so like this is actually what I think about the Outer Banks when I look at this color story. Like I think about a beach that's more where I would love to watch a sunset. I got some driftwood, like really old houses probably, but like weathered. I don't really know if that's how the Outer Banks actually is, but that's how it is in my brain.
You are
So
100%
it definitely takes me to good. I won't be disappointed when I get there one day. So awesome. So it definitely takes me somewhere like this. Now let's look at the next color story and tell me what this one makes you think of. Jen, I love what Bree said in the chat. There's literally no wrong answers. It's all just how it makes you feel and what it makes you think of.
definitely a sunset, like on water.
Okay.
Like a sunset brunch vibe.
Yep. Kind of like a
I
tropical
would wear
feeling.
colors on vacation.
Yes. Okay, so let's click through. I think it's another beach, right? But it's a very different beach. Maybe we're in Miami Beach now and we're having the kind of like South Beach, like very lots of neon and all those things. Cool. Okay, we've got a few more. Let's keep going. Oh, yeah.
This is giving me desert vibes all the way.
Ooh, I like desert. Yeah. Anybody else?
I would say mountain. Yeah. Oh.
Yep. I think very autumnal, like certain time of year. It really took me to like Turkey or something. Yep. All right, and we've got one more. We had to include this one, right? Because we're in retail. We know these colors well.
Holiday.
Yep. We had to do one, and I had to throw in like a Harry Potter reference just for fun. So, yes. So overall, hopefully that just kind of got your brain thinking about how, Color Story is about warm to cool and keeping a good gradient, but it's also about like, what is the goal of the color story and how does it make you feel and what season does it transport you to and, what does it make you think of in your life? So I think we see this a lot in offline versus airy, where airy is generally a very strong warm to cool idea and offline has a lot of more specific color stories. If you want to click through, Brie, I don't remember if we have an example of this. Yeah, so here's an example of maybe where offline is following more of an airy idea of color story where we have this great striping, this really strong warm into cool color story. I do think we can link back to the activity we just did and think that this warm to cool is really very like spring or summery, very fresh. It does help to link it to like all the grass in the upper, but definitely thinking about sunny days. And then I think we may have an example next of a more specific color story. So here, we're not seeing a lot of warm to cool. In fact, we see hardly any warm at all. But we're seeing this really great pop of this very specific green in all of these presentations. So this is something we see in offline a lot. We kind of pick a color that we love or a very specific color palette, and we see that throughout lots of different presentations. So it's a little different from airy. Oh, and there we're highlighting it. Okay, so now we're moving into balance and symmetry. So another great important element of just making stories come to life in the store. And this is a section where it's almost like we're going to nerd out for a minute and talk about almost like the subconscious ways that we put people at ease and make them feel good in our stores through the way we present product. Because I know we've all been in stores where you're like, why am I overwhelmed in this space? Like, why do I not feel good or why do I not want to shop? And sometimes it's because there isn't balance and there's not symmetry and it doesn't please your brain to look at the walls and the tables the way they're presented. So we generally see in a symmetrical wall build a mix of categories, also a mix of pattern and solid. So we've got, not everything's solid, not everything's patterned. We've got a top, a bottom, a bralette, usually even an extra layering piece or an accessory. We've got a variety of pattern and texture. So we're just seeing lots of different things. It's not all the same thing in one wall. Also, we see symmetry in hardware setup. So, what's on the left is what's on the right, and I have a center to the wall. And then there is a key display idea in the middle that kind of gives my eye a break in the presentation. So think for a minute, if it was just these bralettes all the way across the wall, that could feel really overwhelming. But by taking a moment to kind of center your eyes to these great graphics and like a larger format, piece of clothing, it gives me a little bit of a break here. So this is a very symmetrical wall build that we see most of the time in Aerie, and then we do see sometimes in Offline. And now we're going to look at what we would consider more of a balanced wall build that is very particular to Offline. We don't see this a lot in Aerie. So if you really look at this, it's not symmetrical, right? Like if what's on the left is bralettes at the top and then on the right, it's the sweatshirt. But it really is very balanced. So if we click through, the PowerPoint's going to highlight our patterns that we see here. So we've got 2 bralettes over 2 flares, you know, all the way across the wall. And then alternating between them, we have a longer top and then a T-bar on the bottom. So even though we're not symmetrical, we're very balanced. So if I were to adjust this wall, I would want to make sure to protect the pattern or the balance, you know, and it's not really about being symmetrical, but I still want to protect that pattern. So that's definitely something we see in Offline that we do not see in Aerie. Okay, and now I think we're going to look at a few tables and see how this shows up in tables. So this is a symmetrical table build. So same kind of principles apply here, where we're seeing a mix of categories, mix of print pattern versus solid, mix of fabrications. We also see a symmetry in our fixture setup. So I have a side hang on the left, I've got a side hang on the right, I have a wardrober on both sides. My product is centered, I've got my marketing in the middle of the table. So it's perfectly symmetrical with the way it's built. And then I also do still see that key display idea in the middle of this large piece of marketing that's giving my eye a break between all of the products. So again, it's like a grounding moment, centering me there. So if we were to adjust this presentation, we would want to make sure to protect all of these elements when we're making that adjustment. So really, oh, sorry, we go back just for a second, Bree. If you think about, like, if you did have to adjust this, maybe one of your wardrobers is sold through and you had to get rid of the one with the dresses. What do you guys think you could do to protect symmetry when you only have the one wardrobe on the other side now? I think if we were in Aerie, we would automatically say, add some bust forms, right? I can balance, you know, the wardrobe with bust forms. But in Offline, we can't really do that because we don't have bust forms. So I would really leverage things like your telescoping sign, which you see there on the right in front of that wardrober. You could bump that to the side without the wardrober and maybe add one of our dog friends with it to give just a little moment of balance so that, you know, it's not just empty on one side of the table with the wardrober on the other. So just a little nod to that. Okay, so now we are going to take a look at a different type of table setup, so not symmetrical. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this kind of thing from social media, but this is a flat lay that you see a lot on like Instagram or different things. And this one I just love because it's such an encapsulation of what a flat lay is. It's like all of these items are related to each other because they all probably came from a toddler. It's like what a toddler would have maybe in their backpack or something. And they're all very different sizes. They're all different things, but we have fit them together in this space to fill the space completely. And it's almost like a lot of times we see flat lays completing an outfit. So if you click to the next screen, we see this done with clothing, which is a little more similar to what we're going to be working with. So you see all elements of the outfit. We're filling a space that we're given with all these different size things, but they're filling all the space. We don't have any gaps in there. And for some reason, it's just really like pleasing to our brain. So now we're going to look at an Offline table that feels very similar to a flat lay. So this is a presentation that definitely isn't all the way symmetrical, especially with what's set on the tabletop and on the bunkers. Now, I will say that the fixturing is very symmetrical. We still have, you know, the bunkers reflected left and right and the wardrobers, but the product is laid kind of more like a flat lay. We have all pieces of the outfit here. We have our bottom, our top, our bralette, even our underlayering pants there on the left with our accessories across the front. And we're really like filling all the space in this table by utilizing different folds. And it's just kind of a new and interesting way to think about merchandising. And I think here's a great place to talk about how offline is so much about the full outfit. So I think in Aerie, a lot of times we merchandise by a key item. So if you think about the flower stand, for example, a lot of times that is a huge blow up of one key item, whether it's a sweatshirt or a t-shirt. But in offline, it's really about all the pieces of the outfit coming together and creating this like moment, this little flat lay moment of the full outfit. So whenever you are adjusting in offline, you want to make sure to protect the top, the bottom, the sports bra, and the accessory wherever you are in the store. Okie dokie. Okay, so now we're into styling, which is our fourth core element of storytelling in offline. So similar to Aerie, styling has the same goals as in Aerie. So we're looking to reinforce brand strategy through styling. We're looking to provide outfitting inspiration, which I think is what we were just talking about with offering the full outfit is so important because we don't have the form, right? So if you think about an Aerie, even if I'm showing this key item across the whole fixture, I can then dress a bust form with a full outfit beside it. And in offline, I don't have that capability, and that's why we really want to protect the outfitting. We want to use styling to highlight current trends and key items. Styling also showcases product details. I would say that's a huge one for offline. In our product styling within walls and tables, there's a lot of thought given to what details we're highlighting on the product. So folds are very important because a lot of times they are highlighting a specific like leg opening or waist detail. So really like zooming in to the floor set document is really important for offline. And then we're also looking to styling to just elevate presentations in general. So we want to have a very elevated store that feels like it makes me want to shop all the things when I walk in. Okay, so let's look at some elements of styling other than product styling. So we do have marketing and props. So here we have a ton of different examples from the video screens that we mentioned earlier. Those are so important because they're almost like our forms because we see the product on bodies. So just to plug that if your screens are ever out on your storefront or inside your store, that's really important to get fixed. So I would say that's kind of like a 911. We want to get that turned back on. So make sure to partner with who you need to get that to happen. Our upper marketing here, I just love this example because I think in Aerie, in our upper images, we're trying to show a lot of different products on a lot of different people and like as many pieces as we can show. And in offline, it's all about the details. So this one upper is all the same girl in the same outfit, but we're showing different shots of the outfit to highlight different things. So it's really all about the details. And again, you see the shoes. I just think shoes are important in offline. Of course, we have our little dog friends who highlight accessories and just make our store fun. Informational marketing, our large banner marketing that has images of people wearing the clothing, again, more important because we don't have the bust forms. And then you see that again here in the banner marketing in the pavilion. So marketing and props help us a lot with styling. And then upper displays in general, so definitely the large images, but also the product styling we see here, like the waistband is very highlighted in these flares we see hanging. Sometimes our dogs are up there doing fun stuff and wearing accessories. We can show products layered. So here we see the sports bras under these waffle tees. And then, of course, just showing products in the uppers in general and the different color choices can help us out. And then I think we're getting into style bars. So these are our style bars as we walk into the fitting room. So sometimes you'll see them merchandised like the one on the left here, where we are showing a full outfit. We even have some fun leg forms. They give a little movement, but this is really outfitting inspiration. And then like we have currently, sometimes the style bars are more of a menu that again is working to educate the guest on what the different collections are. Right now we're highlighting different lengths of bike shorts. So just kind of showing what's available in store and making it more of a menu. So you'll see this utilized in different ways. Okay, so now we're going to get into styling presentations. This is going to be a deep dive. We're just really going to dig into a few different presentations and kind of see if you noticed all the things or if you would have really had to zoom in to catch all the details. So if we just click through a few of the things from this wall. So here, this is a note from the floor set page. So sometimes you'll have a note that really calls out layering a bra underneath these shirts, tying up the bottom, doing the sleeves. So we see a lot of sleeve scrunching for movement. But then other times you won't have a note. So zoomed in here on the right is just that like every other of the sports bras are turned around to really showcase the back of the sports bra and the detail on the back. So that's something that didn't have a note in the floor set document, but you just really had to zoom in to see that it was done. So just always take a moment to make sure that you're catching all of the little things. Again, we're showing like a lot of movement in this shirt, in this layering shirt. And then we do have our accessories that are helping to complete this outfit. So we don't just want to like eliminate those from the shelf, we want to protect them. Here is another example of a presentation where we are showing a special hang to highlight the detail of the straps on this sports bra. And this was a note given in the floor set doc, but then something that didn't have a note was showcasing the crossover waistband on the hanging leggings. So that would have been something you really had to pay attention to. Again, scrunching is a general rule of thumb for anything you would naturally wear scrunched. So I would think about like a seamless top that has the tighter sleeves. I'm probably not going to scrunch that because that's not how I would wear that top, right? But something like this that is a sweatshirt, I would probably just naturally push my sleeves up. So that's something we would want to scrunch. And then other times we'll give specific direction, maybe where it's harder to see here, where we're folding sleeves to show the thumb hole. And then just really noticing how the waistbands are highlighted in legging folds. Something else you would have to zoom in to see. Okay, one last example, and then we're gonna give you guys one to dissect. So here we're giving a pop of the side of this jacket to show a fun little tag detail on the inside. We have our large format marketing that shows this set on a person, which I think is important here because we're not really merchandising the sets as you would wear them, like top over bottom. It's more of like a flat lay kind of situation here where we're filling our space. So it's good to see that on a body. And then even just the little pop of the sleeve on the shirt here just showcases like what kind of sleeve is there, that is short sleeves, not long sleeves. All these things would be called out here. Okay, so now we're gonna look at this, and I would love for you guys to call out what you're seeing here in the detail pieces that you would need to zoom in on or that you would really need to look at when auditing this presentation.
The hoods are popped, like up on the hanger.
Yep, so I know it has a hood, right? Because if they were all just laid down in there, I might not know, and that might be a selling point for me. Yep, love it. What else do you see?
Lots of scrunch sleeves.
Showing that movement, showing off the sleeves.
I see this. Oh, sorry. I don't know if y'all can hear me.
We can.
For me, like those jars, just seeing what's inside the jar instead of like poking my hand in there, I can see the style of the headband wrapped around the jar.
That is such a great call, and I think that could be such an easy miss, right? Because you kind of do have to look a little closely, but we are showing what the headband looks like on the outside of the jar rather than just sticking them inside. I love that. That's a great call. And also our little dog is wearing one, so that's fun. Anything else you guys see? I'm looking at like what's folded on the table, like maybe the shorts and the jackets. What do you notice there?
There's something about the drawstrings. I'm looking at it on my iPhone, so it's tiny, but I don't know if they're looped or if it's a zipper, but they're all in the same line.
Yeah, so I think on the tops that are folded across the middle here, we have the zippers are pulled halfway down, which seems like such a small thing, but they actually have colored pulls on them. So that's just a product detail that maybe would be missed if we didn't like highlight them in some way. And that might be like a selling feature to someone. They're like, oh, it's so cute. It has a green pole. So just little things like that and showing that, you know, they do unzip. When I'm looking at the shorts, I'm noticing how the shorts on the top are folded differently than the shorts on the bottom because I'm showcasing that side stripe on the one on the bottom. Whereas on the top, it's more about the shape of the actual short and just the print in general. So all really good things. I don't know, Bree, if we have circles that come up on this. You may want, oh no, we don't. So the only other things that I would really call out is with your dog, making sure that the dog is placed and the telescoping sign are placed where they're called for. So those are little detail pieces. Adding the tennis racket to the dog kind of gives a whole different vibe to this. Now I'm like, oh, it's like I could play tennis in this fun afternoon. It gives a little story to the presentation, but all great calls otherwise. I love it. Okay, so now these are just little call outs for some how-tos. So the first one is a how-to that would be included like on the floor set page with a particular item. So just making sure that you're seeing these so that we're showcasing, again, details and like for these bags, like showing all of the features. And then on the right here, this is an evergreen how-to that lives at the back of all of your floor set documents for any time that you merchandise OTT anything. So whether it's shorts or pants or flares, it just gives some guidelines, just general guidelines on how to showcase the waistband, whether you're hanging or folding. So there are how-tos that'll be seasonal, and then there will sometimes be how-tos that live all the time, and that we should just be training our team to forever. Okay, so now I think we're just going to talk a little bit about sustainment. I know we're like really close. I'll wrap this up in 5 minutes. So we're just going to look at some of the things we've talked about today. How would we keep the story going through the sustainment phase of the floor set life cycle? So when you do start to sell through in certain things, or you're waiting for the next floor set, or maybe you're waiting for late arrivals. So our first example, I think, is going to be the same table we were just looking at for a while. Oh, no, first we're going to give you some tips. So quick tips for sustainment. We're going to try to sub items from the same collection or bring in a layering collection. So we're trying not to mix the major fabrication collections within the presentations like we talked about at the beginning. Secondly, we're trying to keep outfitting top of mind, so substituting like categories to maintain the full outfit. And then protect and preserve all the other elements, right? So color story, balance and symmetry, and styling, so that we're still inspiring the guests during sustainment. So here is the floor set photo of the presentation that we were just looking at. So it looks like we knew we were going to be late in some things, so we had went ahead and given some direction of how to adjust this. So we had suggested maybe it's just all accessories come to the top, all the little bralettes come to the middle, and we're more so about the gingham sets because of late arriving fleece. Well, when the store went to set this, they didn't even have the gingham sets, and they were like, whew, how do I make this presentation work with what I own currently? So this is what they ended up doing. So a few things I want to highlight is that we still have all elements of the outfit, right? I still have got a bottom, I've got a top, and then I have like this little shorty, so it's kind of like all the parts, and I have my accessory. They were able to utilize some carryover tops to fill in where they didn't have any of the sports bras. They were able to pull in the pants across the bottom from the adjacent wardrober. So if you think back, those pants were actually hanging on the wardrober to the left of the table. So they just pulled them to the front. They protected their color story. We're still showing the same color projection across the table. And this is a great, like, just hold until we receive the right items, right? So we've got what we own of the collection here, but we really had to make it more about the Henleys and the fleece rather than the gingham because we just didn't have a lot of it. So I think this is such a great example. And then here's a great example too of them creating balance by placing a dog and a telescoping sign on one side of the table where they had to eliminate a wardrober. And then all of our elements of styling are still here. We're still seeing scrunch sleeves. We're highlighting the ties. on the pants. We're folding in a way to show the leg openings on the pants. Our jars still have our accessories, so we're still protecting all of those elements. Okay, and then I think we have one more example. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this one's going to be for you guys. So say we're going to set our floor set, but we don't have any of these great sweatshirts that are in the middle of this wall. So if we click, we'll show which items we're talking about. So these guys have not arrived, but I still need to set this wall. So we're going to give you a few examples. Oh, and just to ground us, this is a Real Me wall. You see it in the upper, Real Me and OTT. So I've got Real Me as my fabrication and the skirts and the bralettes, and then OTT as our layering piece. So we'll click through and give you a few choices of what we could fill the space here with. And underneath each choice, you have the color range that this item comes in. So we've got a throwback crew sweatshirt in 3 colors. We have a seamless crop tee in 4 colors. And then we have a Hugger longline sports bra in a whole lot of colors. So what would be your choice to fill in for these sweatshirts? All right, someone's saying B. Angelica, do you want to tell us why you think B? Oh, we can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. I was just thinking because we didn't want to mix the 2 fabrications with like the OTT and the throwback for the crew neck sweatshirts. And then 2, with the Hugger, we didn't want to mix the collections with the Real Me, having the Hugger there as well. So I thought the sidewalk, the seamless ones would be the best fit there. And it matches the color story really well too.
Yeah, all great calls. So she mentioned not mixing your legging collections, so not pulling that Hugger in, and even like the layering collections, keeping it true to OTT or to throwback. And I also think the throwbacks, we would have had to change the build of the wall to like make room for them. So whenever, if we're just, subbing for a late, if we can keep the integrity of the wall build, that feels really great. So I can just plug these in when they come. So this ended up being a great solve for the store to sub for that late arriving item. So awesome. The seamless are such a great flex item. Awesome. Okay, so I think that wraps us up. So I would love to hear from any of you guys, how you apply what you learned today, any light bulb moments, anything that you're still wondering about before we release. Anybody want to share?
So I had a small takeaway that I think might be worth adding for our next round of training around the supporting collections. I think about we know the throwback fleece will always come in a jogger, the OTT will always come in a jogger. But since we've evolved as a brand just over the last 12 months alone, we know that OTT will come in a short. It now comes in a super flare. Same thing with the throwback. We get our throwback shorts. We've gotten crops in the past. So it's not just about the jogger. So I think we just need to sprinkle that in next time.
Yeah, so there's lots of different elements of that collection that you can utilize. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining today, guys. Hopefully you took some things away that will help you in merchandising your offline stores. And we will let you go. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.